Most men don't realize the environment has changed. And before you click away thinking this is some bitter rant, hear me out. This isn't about hating women. This isn't about avoiding relationships. And this isn't about becoming cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. This is about understanding the landscape you're operating in. Because the rules have changed, the incentives have changed, and the consequences have changed. Too many men are still playing by assumptions that no longer apply. They're making decisions based on ideals instead of realities, and paying for those decisions with confusion, lost position, and quiet disrespect they can't explain. Today isn't about blame, it's about awareness, strategy, and taking responsibility for what your behavior actually communicates, not what you intend it to mean. Because intention doesn't determine outcomes, structure does. Here's the first thing most men don't understand. The moment you stop explaining yourself, people don't automatically respect you. They observe you, they measure you, they test you. Not loudly, not aggressively, quietly. Because silence doesn't automatically signal strength. Silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty triggers evaluation. They're not asking themselves, is he confident? They're asking something far more dangerous. Is he calm or is he losing ground? Every pause you ignore, every comment you let slide, every boundary you don't reinforce, all of it is being logged. Not consciously, instinctively. Human beings don't respond to what you feel, they respond to patterns, and patterns form fast. This is why so many men feel blindsided. Nothing dramatic happened, no argument, no betrayal, just a shift, a change in tone, less enthusiasm, delayed responses, different energy, until one day you realize something is off. But you can't identify when it started. That's not coincidence. That's erosion. Modern power dynamics don't collapse loudly. They decay quietly. And silence plays a role most men misunderstand. We're taught silence is power, that emotional restraint is maturity, that not reacting makes you unshakable. That's only half true. Silence without clarity doesn't create power. It audits it. People don't wait to understand your intentions. They respond to what you tolerate in real time. And whatever you tolerate becomes part of the relationship structure immediately, not later. This is where many men confuse responsibility with endurance. They think being responsible means absorbing discomfort, letting things go, not making waves. They think strength means staying calm no matter what happens. That's not strength. That's avoidance disguised as composure. Real responsibility is understanding consequences. Because every unaddressed issue becomes precedent. Precedent becomes expectation. Expectation becomes entitlement. And by the time entitlement shows itself clearly, the dynamic is already set. Now enforcing boundaries feels aggressive instead of natural. This is why timing matters. Early enforcement feels firm. Late enforcement feels hostile. The same boundary, different interpretation. Not because you changed, but because the structure did. This is why men who suddenly assert themselves later often get pushback. From the other side, it feels unfair. Why now? You never had a problem with this before. This came out of nowhere. And they're not wrong. You taught them what was acceptable. That's the cost of delayed clarity. And clarity delayed is clarity denied. This is also why explanations don't restore position. Because explanations appeal to understanding. But position doesn't respond to understanding. Position responds to structure. You don't regain leverage by explaining how you feel. You regain leverage by changing what happens next, consistently, without drama, without negotiation. That's the part most men resist, because it comes with loss. Loss of comfort, loss of familiarity, loss of people who benefited from the old dynamic. But avoiding that loss doesn't preserve the relationship. It preserves the imbalance, and imbalance always collapses. Sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, never cleanly. This is why silence can start working against you. When your presence is clear, silence reinforces it. When your presence is unclear, silence accelerates the loss of position. That's why the same behavior produces opposite results in different men. One man goes quiet and gains respect. Another goes quiet and gets tested harder. The difference isn't silence, it's clarity. Clarity about boundaries, clarity about consequences. Clarity about access. A man who knows his standards doesn't explain them endlessly. He enforces them. Not emotionally, structurally, he adjusts access. And that adjustment communicates more than words ever could. Silence backed by decisive action is powerful. Silence backed by hesitation is permission. This distinction determines everything. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start noticing patterns everywhere. Who respects limits immediately? Who pushes until stopped? who escalates when ignored, who behaves only when consequences exist. None of this is personal. It's human behavior responding to incentives. Good intentions don't override incentives. Hope doesn't override incentives. Structure does. This is where many men get trapped internally. They feel something is wrong. They sense the pressure increasing, but they hesitate to act because they don't want to overreact. They fear becoming the bad guy. They fear looking insecure. They fear conflict more than erosion. So they stay silent. And silence feels safe in the moment. But safety in the moment often creates danger long term. Because unresolved tension doesn't disappear. It compounds. Every unaddressed issue becomes reference material. And reference material becomes justification later. By the time you finally speak up, the response isn't curiosity, it's resistance. Because from the other side, the dynamic already feels settled. This is why men say, she changed. Often, she didn't. The structure did. And structure changes based on what you consistently allow. This is also where men misunderstand calmness. They think calm means passive. It doesn't. Calm means controlled, and control means choice. The ability to walk away, the ability to reduce access, the ability to stop investing without threats, without speeches, without emotional displays. A man with options doesn't negotiate his core boundaries. He doesn't argue for respect. He structures for it. And this is why self-development matters beyond attraction. Development gives you alternatives. Alternatives reduce fear. Reduced fear allows enforcement. A man who needs the relationship will tolerate what a man with options won't. That's not arrogance, that's leverage. This is also why some men feel like the more calm they become, the weaker they're perceived. Because calm without structure reads as disengagement, and disengagement invites testing. Testing isn't malicious, it's instinctive. People test what they don't understand. They push where resistance is unclear. They adapt to what you consistently allow. This isn't cynicism, it's observation. And observation is what prevents repetition. Not every relationship is meant to survive clarity. Some relationships only exist because boundaries were absent. When boundaries appear, those relationships dissolve. That's not failure, that's filtration. This is why silence is dangerous when misused. Silence isn't absence, silence is pressure. And pressure reveals everything. Who respects you without explanation, who only behaves when consequences appear, who withdraws when structure replaces ambiguity. So before you go quieter, before you explain less, before you assume calm equals strength, ask yourself one question. Is my silence reinforcing my position or erasing it? Because once the shift completes it, there's no warning. You don't get a conversation, you don't get a chance to explain. You just wake up one day and realize your position is gone. And by then, explaining won't bring it back.